Donald Trump has won the 2024 US presidential elections. Now he's going to be back in the Oval Office for his second term. A lot of people actually anticipated his victory, and this is evident from the fact that not only did the stock markets, they were booming. I mean, they are currently booming. When you look at the Indian stock market at the time of recording this video, it actually is up to date. Not only that, but Bitcoin has crossed its all-time high and now is currently trading at $74,000, $74,700. So the markets are booming. The betting markets are also booming, which showed, I mean, these betting markets, they showed a landslide victory. And this time around, he has won key swing states, which he lost the last time. And all of the key states, the major key states, he won by 2 to 3 percentage points. When we look at Pennsylvania, or when we look at Georgia, when we look at Wisconsin, when we look at Michigan, all of these states, he's won by 2 to 3 percentage points as compared to the last time, which he actually lost. So he's not only recovered, but he's recovered by a margin of votes this time around. And which is a proof that Americans, they had enough of the Biden administration. And this is also a unique time in the history of American politics that the two candidates that were actually the presidential candidates, US citizens, they witnessed both of their terms. Obviously, Trump was the president as compared to the Biden administration. Now, obviously, Kamala Harris was the vice president, not the president, but she was just as much involved as the president of the country. She was involved in almost every single decision that was made. So when you look at the accomplishments of Kamala Harris or the Biden administration, people were fed up of the way that Biden administration was running the country, and not just the country, but the entire world was actually looking at what was happening in the US. We witnessed two wars that have no end in sight. Current Biden administration was not only not able to stop the war from actually starting, but there is no possibility of ceasefire in sight at this point of time. Not only was it a major election for the US citizens, but for the world as a whole. And in this video, we're going to actually talk about how Trump actually managed to win over Kamala Harris, over the Democrats this time around. So the number one reason, obviously, the economic reasons play a huge role. People were fed up with grocery prices. They were fed up with the rising gas prices. Inflation was up 5-6% at one point of time in 2021, 2022. Obviously, economic policies, they play a huge role. The kind of economy that American economy was starting to become at that point of time. So that was one of the major reasons. Now, the second reason that was actually an important reason was the border security. And when we look at the Biden administration, I mean, at one point of time in 2022, I believe it was about 11 million illegal immigrants, undocumented migrants entering the country. And that was unsafe because many of these, illegal immigrants coming into the country, first of all, they were not coming by, following a legal process. Secondly, I mean, many of them were criminals. And that was actually becoming a disturbing reason for Americans, which prompted them to vote because they did not want illegal immigrants to enter the country. And like no other country should actually allow illegal immigrants coming and crossing the borders. If you want to actually be a part of any country, if you want to actually add on to the other country and improve your life, you need to go there legally. America is a country of immigrants. Everyone that is, I mean, almost everyone that is living in America currently is first, second, third generation immigrant, right? Their families came from all over the world, apart from the Native Americans, obviously. So Trump actually calling for deporting all the illegal immigrants, that makes sense. If you want a better life for yourself, then go there legally. He's been a pro-Bitcoin candidate, and that is why he's also gotten votes from the Bitcoin and the crypto community as a whole. And this is why you will see that Bitcoin has actually broken its all-time high. Now is currently trading at around $74,000 because the Bitcoin community and the crypto community is supporting Donald Trump. Another major issue for Americans at this point of time is that hundreds of billions of dollars worth of taxpayers' money was actually going to the two wars that are currently ongoing. The Biden administration has not found a solution to actually put an end or at least a ceasefire to the war, or to both of these wars altogether. Whereas on the other hand, Trump has promised that he's going to end the Russia and Ukraine war on the first day that he is elected. Now we'll have to wait and see how that goes. But I believe that Trump is going to do that. He's going to end the war as soon as he becomes the president, or even before joining the office, being a president-elect. And he's also said that he's going to figure out a solution. He's going to end the Israel and Hamas and Iran war. And I believe him because there were no wars under Donald Trump. No wars started under the presidency of Donald Trump. At the time of his, first term, when he was elected as the president, Democratic voters per se, they were scared that, he was going to start another war. He was going to go for a World War III, none of which we witnessed during his tenure. And that is what the American citizens want at this point of time. They do not want any wars. They do not want their money actually floating towards other countries. They want America first, and that is what Donald Trump has promised. So this is what American citizens at this point of time are hopeful that, they're not going to witness a continuation of the war that has been going on for the last 3 years and the last 1 year in the Middle East. Talking about the wars, let us also talk about the woke mind virus that has been spreading across the US, and which was actually visible in the last 4 years during the Biden administration. Somehow, people are influenced by the West so much that they start adapting whatever is happening in the US in their own countries, and that is why it is also affecting the rest of the world. Or would have affected more had Donald Trump not come in place. The fact that, men are participating in women's sports, that is crazy. People do not want that. If you're 18 and above, if you're a legal adult, do whatever you want. Identify as a light bulb, identify as a cat, dog, whatever you want to do that. But if you're influencing teenagers and kids who are not adults yet, who are not 18 yet, you're influencing them to take life-changing decisions, that becomes a problem. Whether it's drag queens in schools, I mean, this is sort of crazy how you can let a teenager or a young person that is not an adult yet take these decisions that actually are irreversible or do irreversible damage to themselves. Most Americans, most sane, rational Americans, they do not want that. They don't want this to happen in schools. They want their kids to be away from all of this, right? They want to protect their families, and this is how it should be. So this is where Trump stands. Trump will end all of the woke virus that is going on in the US, and hopefully that does not spread across the world. I believe that, moving forward, Trump is able to control that. Another thing that, has worked for Donald Trump and not for the other side is endorsements. Now, Trump has gotten endorsements from people like Elon Musk. When you look at Elon Musk, he was not a Republican, he was a Democrat. And not only that, but during the Republican primaries, he was also rooting for DeSantis. But then Donald Trump won the primaries, and somehow Elon Musk showed his support and has actively shown his support for Donald Trump, even endorsed him on his platform X, and has constantly tweeted ever since about how important it is for Trump to win the upcoming elections, which he won thanks to Elon Musk. He played a major role. Obviously, he's been endorsed by another presidential candidate. I mean, he dropped out of the race, Robert Kennedy Jr., right? He was also a major candidate. He was running as an independent, but he still had 5 to 10% of the votes. So those votes coming in Donald Trump's favor did play a huge role, right? Robert Kennedy has been a Democrat all his life. His father was a Democrat, his uncle was a Democrat, he was assassinated. So coming from a Democrat who then becomes an independent and now endorses the Republican candidate, that's a pretty major thing, right? Which tells you how far the Democrats have gone in the US. Many other important figures like Tulsi Gabbard, she was a Democrat. She debated Harris and she was a Democrat. Then she became an independent and then became a Republican, supporting Donald Trump. Never would have an average American expected Democrats, some Democrats and independents going towards Donald Trump, voting and rooting for Donald Trump as they have in this election. Not only that, but when you look at Joe Rogan, the biggest podcaster in the world, he has been a liberal, he's been a Democrat all his life. He said that he's never going to have Donald Trump on his podcast, but he did that this time. Not only that, he also endorsed Donald Trump. This was also a late endorsement, but it is an endorsement nonetheless because Joe Rogan has a huge audience and has a huge influence in the world, around the world. And also when you look at that particular podcast episode, Joe Rogan Experience with Donald Trump, that actually got over 40 million views. Now that is more than the combined views that Kamala Harris got on all her podcast appearances. This is the sort of influence that Kamala Harris had. She was not ready to actually indulge in conversations, unscripted videos, unscripted, conversations with people who would actually want to know her and would actually want to push her back on certain policies. And Trump was, actually going to every single podcast. He was not giving up in any opportunity. And that is what was different, way different this time around. All the endorsements that were for Kamala Harris, they were from celebrities. And at this point of time, people have realized that, these celebrity endorsements, they do not work. People have decided that they are not going to rely on celebrity endorsements anymore. And people have realized, people are no longer dependent on these celebrity endorsements. People would much rather trust someone else's judgment who's actually in the space, who's actually interested in the space 24/7, or at least more than an average celebrity is. And the kind of endorsements that were received by Donald Trump were from credible sources. And this man has been, dealing with allegations left, right, center from every single where. This man has been dealing with all the charges. If one side of the table, they do not want you to actually win the elections, they're going to do everything that is possible to stop you. Now, I'm not saying that, he's a felon or not, but these are the kind of, games that are played when you want to actually eliminate your political opponent. These things could have happened way earlier or way later. Why are they happening at the time of political candidacy? Why are they happening right around elections? Because you simply do not want the other side to win. And they think that, by doing that, that is the only way they can win. If they put him behind the bars, if they try to somehow, manage to assassinate him, which actually happened twice to Donald Trump. He had 2 failed assassination attempts on him, took a bullet for his country one time, stood up, stood his ground, said fight, 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 to get up after getting hit by a bullet. He was very lucky that, he missed that bullet by half an inch or even less than that. This man loves his country. There's no doubt about it. He's a 78-year-old billionaire. He does not need to do anything. He can be chilling anywhere around the world. He has a net worth of $6 to $8 billion, somewhere around that number. He's achieved everything that he wanted to in his life. He's become a businessman. He became a media king as well. He was in the media entertainment industry. And then he also became the president. So he's done almost every single thing that he wanted to. And now he could have retired peacefully peacefully. He would have, enjoyed his luxury, his wealth that he's created with his family. But he's on the road 24/7, 365, and he's running his campaign like he's in his 20s. I mean, he did a 3-hour, podcast with Joe Rogan. Then he flew to Michigan to do another rally late at night, and he's been doing that consistently for the last few months. On the other hand, when you look at Kamala, none of this actually happened. I mean, you can go and knock on doors of fellow Pennsylvania voters at the last minute. At the last minute, I don't think so that is going to work. By that time, people have already made up their mind. This man has been criticized. He's been mocked. He's been a major target of all the major news media outlets in the US. And we know that, most of them are left-leaning. And still he comes out, runs, and wins the election. This tells us that American people want change. They've witnessed the last 4 years. They did not want any more of that. And that is why they've chosen Donald Trump as the president of the US. With that being said, what do you think about Donald Trump's victory? Do you think that this is the moment, this is the beginning of a new era for the American economy, American politics, and American people? Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you enjoyed watching this video, if you found this video valuable, please share this video with your friends and family. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching this video and have a great day.